Okay, so this is my sort of draft layout of my pedal board. So essentially the way the tuning is going to work is my guitar is basically going to go into this Boss wah. I keep it off the board mainly because one, there's not a huge amount of space on here. I very rarely use wah pedals anyway, so best to keep it off the board because it's kind of pointless having it on here if I'm not going to use it. Literally the only song I'm using the wah pedal on is the end solo of Danny California, and that's basically it. That's like the only time the wah pedal gets used, and also because it's best to keep it off the board, so that gives me more space for all this. And sometimes some pedal boards are angled this way. Because of the angle of your foot, it can be very uncomfortable to use a wah pedal on an angled pedal board. And the way the wah pedals are generally designed, they're generally designed to be flat on the floor. So that's one of the reasons why I keep it separate off here. Previously, I was just running it on a battery. This is the battery that came with it. I may end up switching it for power. But again, if I'm really going to use it, I might as well just run it battery just for convenience. So, out of the wah goes to my Boss TE2 tuner. This is pretty much my first ever pedal. I've had this for years and it still works. So that's a brilliant thing with Boss pedals, is that you can have own Boss pedals for the last 30 years and they still work and they're so durable. But who knows, I may end up in the future upgrading this to probably a TC Polytune Mini or the D'Addario Chromatic tuner. So even though it's slightly bigger than the Polytune, but it's got a really big display on it. Next up I have the drop. The drop I use for pitch, of course pitch drop as it says on there. There's a couple of songs in my band where we tune to E flat. So to save the hassle with switching guitars, I just press that and it instantly pitch drops my guitar down a half step. So it's just basically like tuning my guitar to E flat without having to physically tune it. Out of there, that goes into the Line 6 Helix. So the reason why I have these before is because they're momentary, so they don't have to be in the Helix. I would prefer having my own separate tuner. The Helix does have its own tuner, has its own built-in tuner, but that you risk losing a preset button just for the tuner. So the way I have it planned out is these are basically going to be all my banks and presets, and I'll just have a couple of pedals that are before it. And also, no matter what bank or preset I'm on, I can just kick these on whenever I need them. And I've got the little foot switch on here. This is connected to the Expression 1, 2 or foot switch 4 and 5 input. So it's basically a TRS stereo cable that splits into two mono cables that connect to these two switches here. And then for power supply, we've got my One Spot Pro by True Tone. That's going to fit underneath the Pedal Train Metro, but it's also got drill holes in there, so I may think about literally physically drilling it into the board, but it may depend how much usage I get out of it, but it'll probably be a lot, so I may end up probably drilling it onto the board. And this is the power supply for the Line 6 HX Stomp. So I'm going to be powering my Line 6 from this. Everything else is going to be powered from this. It's got enough power and current for everything else. It has got dip switches that change the voltage on the adapters. So you can go from 9 to 12 or 9 to 18, but I never use them because everything on here is all 9 volts, so you might as well just leave it on there. And these are high current inputs, so I'm going to be using one of the high current inputs for the drop because it's a digital pedal, it takes high current, and then everything else will just be powered by this lot. So the tuner and the wah is pretty much going to be powered off this, and then I have my own separate power supply just for the Line 6. And yeah, so that's the main basic layout. For some of the cables I'm using, these are just cheap sort of Donner cables. If I can get the camera to focus. Excuse me. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, here we go, Donner cables. These are just like really flat cables, which is really good because I can pretty much squeeze these two together, and I've got loads, so they can pretty much squeeze together like this. So when I'm connecting pedals, I've got enough to basically put these two together. And I've got a whole bunch of spare cables just in case if one of them dies, I can just switch them over. This is the Velcro and pedalboard tape that came with the pedal train. So the soft side is going to be on the board. I'm going to use the sort of hook Velcro on the pedals themselves. The only thing I'm concerned is with these Boss pedals, because they've got this sort of rubber backing. I heard the Velcro doesn't stick on well with these, so I could probably try and use the Velcro on this bit here, or I may have to end up, removing all this, and it's going to be very sticky and horrible on the inside, and then I have to remove it. But all the other pedals, as you see, don't have that, so that's pretty easy and convenient. Same thing with all this as well, and the line 6. So I just Velcro everything. I may just do like small little squares. I'll probably do small little squares on the corner, or probably like 2 on each side, so that way they can stick on, and if I need to remove them, so I want them to not only stick on really well, but also want them to be easily removable as well if I want to move from here to here. So it just makes it a lot more easy and just flexible to use. The True Tone one spot, that's going to fit underneath the board, as I mentioned. That's going to be all drilled in. And then, yeah, and then all that's left is basically just power everything and then checking it all up. So I'll put out some other videos just during the build process as well.